Hi guys, my name is Ashley and I'm a mom of 2 little girls. I have a 3.5-year-old named Kylie and I also have a 20-month-old named Mia. I have been very excited about filming this video because I get to share with you a whole bunch of really amazing resources on a topic that quite honestly is very near and dear to my heart, not only as a Montessori parent and as an educator, but just as a human being in general. Now, Dr. Montessori envisioned the education of children as a means for creating a better future for humanity, for achieving global peace. And I think that is such an incredible endeavor. She was such an inspiring woman, and I feel incredibly honored to be playing even a small role in helping to achieve that vision that she had. Now, if you are new to my channel, then you don't yet know this about me, but I love to read. If there were one thing in this entire world that I was 100% guilty of going a little bit overboard on, it would be books. And after having become a parent, that love expanded to include children's books as well. So from one busy parent to another, today I'm going to be sharing with you an entire collection of books that not only feature but celebrate diversity and inclusion that I think are perfect for not just your Montessori home, but for every home. So really quickly, before we jump into all of the books, I do want to draw attention to one thing that I think is very important. And that is the fact that, yes, it is absolutely 100% essential for parents to be making a concerted effort to include books that celebrate diversity and inclusion in their child's library at home. Because oftentimes books tend to be the gateway for parents to having these very open lines of communication with their child about what can sometimes be very sensitive or difficult topics to talk about. This is especially important if, as part of your personal background, when you were a child, if you didn't have adults who were in your life that were having these types of open conversations with you. Because remember, we're trying to affect positive change. We are trying to challenge the status quo and change the way that things have always been for the better. And the only way to do that is to push yourself out of your own comfort zone. And it becomes absolutely integral if your child doesn't have a lot of exposure to the diverse kinds of people and cultures that are out there outside of your own family and community. You have to remember that you're not only raising a child, you're raising a human being who is going to be a citizen of the world. And if you truly want them to recognize and appreciate all of the diversity that exists within our world, then it really starts with educating them and properly educating them to embrace these things. So reading books with your child is a great starting point along that journey, but it's exactly that. It's a starting point. There is still so much more work to be done, but you have to start somewhere. So the first category of books that I'd like to share with you today are books that all celebrate racial and ethnic diversity. And the first couple of them are specifically geared toward a younger audience. So these would be books that are more appropriate for babies, toddlers, and even younger preschoolers. The first one is called Global Babies. This one tends to be a perennial favorite for most babies because it includes full-size photographs of the faces of other babies around the world. And the message is very simple, that no matter where you are or what you look like or what you're dressed in, all babies are unique and special. The next book is called Everywhere Babies by Susan Myers. And this one is filled with realistic illustrations of babies and families of all shapes, sizes, and colors. And it follows a baby's life from the moment that they're born all the way up through their first birthday and all of the variety of accomplishments that happen along the way. Another great one for infants and toddlers is called 10 Little Fingers and 10 Little Toes by Mem Fox. This book also features realistic illustrations of babies who are born all over the world, and it features them happily laughing and playing together despite their differences. And finally, as far as books for babies and toddlers go, at least in this category, I wanted to share something with you about the Love Every subscription kits that I was personally unaware of until I actually had the opportunity to experience these kits for myself. Each of the Love Every kits typically include at least one book. And I noticed right away that the books that were arriving in the kits are all books that feature children of a variety of different races and cultures. And it's very clear that they intentionally do this. and I think that's wonderful. So if you are potentially considering purchasing a subscription for your little one, ages 0 to 3, at home this year, I would highly recommend the Love Every kits because they are very clearly thinking about the content of their kits and making sure that they are respectful and that they celebrate diversity. Now, the remaining books in this category on racial and ethnic diversity are all books that are targeted toward slightly older children. I would say at least preschool and beyond, but I can tell you from personal experience that my toddler absolutely loves these books just as much as my preschooler does. So there is no reason to completely write it off your list of possibilities if your child is on the younger side right now, because there is still a lot to be gained from each of these books and they can certainly grow into them. So the first book is called The Day You Begin by Jacqueline Woodson. This book contains an incredibly empowering message for young children, especially children who might find themselves outside of the dominant culture, that there may come a day where they recognize that they have very stark differences from the others around them. And they're encouraged to not only recognize these differences, but to embrace them and to wear them proudly, because these differences are what help to weave the fabric of their personal story. And their story is just as important as anyone else's in the room. The next book is called I Am Enough by Grace Byers. This book contains an incredibly powerful message for young Black girls, and I would argue any young female of color, that exactly as the title says, they are enough just as they are. It empowers them to stand strong in saying that, no, we don't all need to agree about everything, and we don't all need to look exactly the same and act in the same way, but that doesn't mean that we aren't all on equal ground. The next book is called Mixed Blessing by Marsha Cosman. This book contains a very simple and sweet story about a multiracial family that visits the zoo with a Black mom and a white dad and their young child who is asking questions about the color of his skin. And while the story isn't 100% biologically accurate as far as the information about the animals is concerned, there is a very simplistic analogy included in the story about ice cream that even the youngest of children can relate to, and it can help to explain where the differences in their skin color arise from. The next book is called It's Okay to Be Different by Sharon Purtill. This very simple book offers young children a wide variety of examples of the ways in which people can differ from one another, and it confers an overall message of kindness, that these differences are not only okay, but that they should be celebrated because these differences are what make everybody unique. The next book is called Here We Go Round the Mulberry Bush by Sophie Fatus and Fred Penner. This book is just the written version of the classic children's song, and it follows 4 different children from Europe, Mali, India, and China as they go about their early morning routine getting ready for school. Not only are the illustrations vibrant and fun to look at, it's also a great way to help young children visualize how different people from various parts of the world go about their daily lives. The next one is called People of the World by Nancy Lowen and Paula Skelly. This short nonfiction book contains rhyming text to help engage your young reader, as well as a variety of beautiful full-size photographs of people from different countries and cultures all over the world. The next book is called Here We Are, Notes for Living on Planet Earth by Oliver Jeffers. I love this book for the fact that not only does it feature diverse characters, it very overtly states that even though we all look different, act different, and sound different, that we are still all people. So there's this very direct message in the book that helps young children to normalize this diversity that's present among human beings on our planet. And the last book in this category is called Most People by Michael Liana. This book includes a very wide variety of diverse people of all different skin colors and ethnicities, and the characters that are featured on the pages are often characters that are associated with a negative stereotype. So having these types of people cast in the role of a good person helps to break down some of those stereotypes for our children. I also believe that the message behind this book, that most people are good and that there are far fewer bad people, for lack of a better phrase, in this world, I think that's important to remind our children of, because with everything that is going on in the world, especially these days, it's important that children not get lost in this sense of overwhelm and hopelessness that nothing is ever going to change. They need to believe and have faith in humanity, that there are good people out there and that things can change and that they can be part of it. All right, so the next category of books that I'm going to share with you are all books related to cultural diversity. And there are so many books out there on a world of different cultures that it would be impossible for me to share every single one of them with you. But what I'm going to do today is share with you the couple that our family has read and that we enjoy, and hopefully some of them will spark some interest for you. So the first one is called It's Cow Cow Time by April Hale. This children's book features rhyming text and a variety of really fun illustrations that help to highlight and celebrate Hawaiian food culture and all of the variety of different foods that are enjoyed across the islands. The next one is called What Do You Celebrate? Holidays and Festivals Around the World by Whitney Stewart. This book features 14 different countries and the holidays and festivals that are unique to each one of them. For each of the different countries and their celebration, there is a description of the history of how it came to be and how it's celebrated today, as well as a little call-out box that features a couple of the traditions that are specific to that holiday, as well as a set of instructions for a DIY project that you and your child can do together to help celebrate that holiday in the traditional style of the country where it originated. The next book is called Dia de los Muertos by Hannah Elliott. This very uniquely illustrated book dives into the specifics of Dia de los Muertos and exactly how and why it's celebrated in traditional Mexican culture. The next book is one that I recently ordered, so I don't have it to show you guys today, but it is called Thank You, Amu by Oge Mora. And from what I've heard, this is a wonderful story of sharing and community as it's steeped in Nigerian culture, and it follows the story of Amu, who makes a delicious stew, and each of her neighbors wants a taste. And as each of them comes to her asking for some, she offers a little bit of her stew to each of them until finally there's potentially none left for herself. I've also read that this book is wonderfully diverse in that the characters are presented in a wide variety of skin tones, and that multiple languages are also called out very specifically across the pages of the book. And one other recent purchase that I just had to share with you, even though I don't have it yet here in person to show you, is a book called We Are Grateful by Tracy Sorrell. This book offers a contemporary perspective on Cherokee culture, as the people and families that are depicted in the book are shown across the span of a year, all 4 seasons, as they're gathering together and expressing their gratitude. The book also includes several Cherokee words written out in English with some pronunciation for guidance, as well as their actual spelling with a Cherokee alphabet and what the word means. And overall, this book stands as a reminder to not only reflect on our struggles, but to be grateful for the things that we do have. So as many of you are already aware, my husband is Taiwanese, which makes our 2 girls biracial Taiwanese American children. And it is incredibly important to me that our girls not only know about, but they celebrate and they take pride in the heritage that they have from his side of the family. So there's a book called A Kid's Guide to Asian American History by Valerie Petrillo that includes more than 70 different activities and a whole lot of information that you can do with your child that all focus on highlighting and celebrating Asian American cultures. While this is certainly not a book that you would sit down and read cover to cover with your child, there are a lot of different really fun activities in here that while you're engaging in the project with your child, you could certainly bring in a lot of the information that's presented about that activity. And as a white mother, I think that the information presented in this book is a really great starting point for learning more about Asian American history and culture so that I can do the work to understand it myself, and then therefore ensure that I'm passing on that knowledge to our girls and that they understand an integral piece of their family heritage. And a big piece of that is being familiar with the native language of your culture. And my husband, while he does speak some Mandarin, is not 100% fluent. And so very regrettably, up until this point, we have been an English-only household. But I'm looking to change that. So I picked up a couple of books for our girls that are going to incorporate some bilingual language learning in our home that specifically focus on Mandarin Chinese. And the first one is called Mina's First Day of School by Katrina Leo. This very simple story follows a young girl named Mina as she goes off to her first day at school and meets her teacher and some new friends. And each of the lines is presented not only in English, but also in traditional Chinese characters, as well as pinyin for pronunciation. Another bilingual Chinese book that we have been exploring with the girls is called First Words in Chinese by Jane Tai. This book is simply a collection of some very common words for beginning learners in a variety of different categories, and the words are all presented in English, traditional Chinese characters, and pinyin next to a picture of each word. And the last book that I want to share with you in this category is one that is not even published yet. It's coming out in January, but I do have it on pre-order. It's called Eyes That Kiss in the Corners by Joanna Ho. I'm personally really excited about this book because it's a story about a young Asian girl who recognizes one day that her eyes are not quite the same shape as those of her peers. And so it's her story, her journey toward self-acceptance and love and respect for her own Chinese roots. And I know that this is something that our girls are going to grapple with as they get a little bit older. And I want them to take pride in their beauty and to love themselves for exactly the way they look. The next category of books that I want to share with you are those that celebrate the diversity of people with disabilities. The first one is a book called I Will Dance by Nancy Bo Flood. This book retells the real-life story of a young girl who was born with cerebral palsy, who uses a wheelchair, and who also yearns to be a dancer. In the beginning of the book, the reader learns all about her fears and uncertainties about becoming a dancer in light of her physical differences. But her mom motivates her to sign up for a young dance company that encourages inclusion of all types of dancers. She overcomes her fears and joins this dance studio and participates in dance recitals in front of an audience and gets to achieve her dreams. The next book is called Mama Zooms by Jane Cowan Fletcher. This is a very sweet story of a young boy whose mother actually uses a wheelchair. And the story offers his very joyful account of what it's like to be a passenger on his mom's lap as they move about together through daily life. The next book is called Juan Has the Jitters by Annetta Cruz. In this book, Juan is a young boy with autism, and it's a story of kindness and compassion as his teacher and his classmates rally together to organize a mathletics game event where he actually gets to be the judge, and math just so happens to be his strong suit, so it gives him a sense of purpose and a feeling of belonging. The next book is called 47 Strings, Tess's Special Code by Becky Carey. This book is written as a letter to a young child from his parents about his little sister who was born with Down syndrome. It explains in very simple terms in a very age-appropriate way for young children exactly what Down syndrome is. And overall, it's a wonderful story for helping young children learn how to accept the differences that exist in other people. And the last book is called My Friend Has Down Syndrome by Caitlin Dooling. This book would be more of a starting point or an add-on book to other books about children with Down syndrome because it doesn't have a lot of information in it about Down syndrome itself. However, I do appreciate that it includes actual photographs of neurotypical children who are working alongside and laughing and smiling with children who have Down syndrome, just to help normalize that experience for children who might be learning about it. The next category of books celebrates the diversity of the LGBTQIA+ community, and the first book is called Pride Colors by Robin Stevenson. This beautiful board book is a celebration of love in all of its forms. It's basically a love letter to your child as written through the colors of the rainbow and accompanied by beautiful full-size photographs of children and their loving families in the LGBTQIA+ community. The next one is called Love Makes a Family by Sophie Beer. This board book for young children describes all of the different forms that love can take across families of all different shapes and sizes, including those with one parent, with a mom and a dad, two moms, two dads, grandparents and other relatives or caregivers, and it emphasizes that love is what defines a family. The next book is on my personal wish list. It's called Heather Has Two Mommies by Leslie Newman. And in this story, a young girl named Heather goes to school and is asked by a classmate about her father. And she does not have a father, she has two mothers. So when they all begin making drawings of their families, Heather discovers that nobody's drawing looks the same, which means that everybody's family looks different. So not only is this book inclusive of the LGBTQIA+ community, but it also speaks to diversity in family structure as a whole. The last few books in this category speak more specifically to gender identity and breaking gender stereotypes. And the first one is called A Girl Like You by Frank and Carla Murphy. There's a strong message in this book for girls about making brave and bold choices and to not feel restricted by the stereotypes that are often present in society about what it means to be a girl. They're encouraged to go out and find their passion, discover their strengths, and to do it all regardless of their gender. The next one is called Dress Like a Girl by Patricia Tote. This one is all about breaking the stereotype that girls are supposed to dress a certain way. And much like the last book, it encourages them to seek out their strengths, follow their passions, and dress however it is that they need to dress to make themselves happy. And as far as books for breaking the gender stereotypes surrounding what boys can and cannot wear, is a fabulous book that's on my wish list called Julian is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. And it's about a boy who spies some women dressed up as mermaids on a bus while he's riding home with his abuela one day. And he decides that he too wants to dress like a mermaid. And he worries that his grandmother is not going to approve, but instead finds out the complete opposite, that she is 100% supportive and even takes him to a festival where he finds lots of other kindred spirits. And the final book in this category is called Who Are You? The Kid's Guide to Gender Identity by Brooke Pesson-Wedby. It provides very simple, easy to understand language for young children about the human experience of gender, as far as our bodies go, our actual expression of gender, and our gender identity. And the very last book that I have to share with you in today's video is based on the popular song of the same name by Bob Marley. It is called One Love, written by Cedella Marley. This book follows the experience of a young Black girl as she works hand in hand with the diverse members of her community to transform her neighborhood, as they all work together to help clean up a local park and then replant it in an effort to beautify it so that everyone can enjoy it together. And I just love this book simply because I can't help but hear the song in the back of my head, even as I'm reading it to my girls. And it's just one of those feel-good songs that you can't help but sing along to whenever you hear it. And so on a related note, I want to share something actually really cool and exciting with you guys. While I was planning this video, completely coincidentally, I was contacted by Tough Gong Worldwide, which is the record label that Ziggy Marley works with. They wanted to know if I was interested in receiving a couple of copies of Ziggy Marley's brand new album called More Family Time that just came out, that features a whole family-focused theme and songs that were inspired by his children and his family. And of course, the answer was a resounding yes. So I thought to myself, what a better way to celebrate diversity and inclusion than by highlighting and promoting the work of a Black music artist. So I received 5 copies of Ziggy Marley's brand new album the other day in the mail, and I am very excited to share them with you guys. We're gonna do a little tiny giveaway just for the next 24 hours after this video has been posted. So if you are interested in winning a copy of Ziggy Marley's brand new album, please be sure to check out the description box down below, where I have posted all of the official giveaway rules and how to enter. So that is everything that I have to share with you guys today. These are not all of the books that exist out there. I know there are so many of them. So if you have any recommendations of your own that you would like to add to this list, please be sure to share them with us in the comments down below. And if you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to implement Montessori practices at home with your children, I also offer a comprehensive e-course that walks you through it step by step. So I will also leave a link to that in the description box down below in case you're interested in learning more about it. And just in case you are new to my channel, I also wanted to let you know that this video is part of a much larger series on this YouTube channel called Montessori at Home, which is aimed at providing practical tips and advice for busy parents like you and I for implementing Montessori at home with our children. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in watching more of, then you might consider subscribing to my channel. This way you don't miss a new video, because I do upload a new one just like this one every single week. Thank you so much for watching today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.